Isabel sat at the small kitchen table in her apartment, staring at the pile of bills in front of her. She had a son, David, who was playing quietly in the corner. She wished things were different. Her life had not been easy since the divorce. She remembered the happy days when her family was whole, but now everything seemed broken. The apartment was small and simple. The walls were painted white, and the furniture was old. It wasn't the life she had dreamed of, but it was all she had for now. She looked at David and smiled. He was only 6, but he was so smart and full of energy. She loved him more than anything. He was the reason she had to keep going. She had to be strong for him. Isabel had tried to find work, but it wasn't easy. She didn't have many skills, and most jobs needed someone with more experience. She had tried to apply at different places, but no one called her back. Sometimes, she felt like she was invisible. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was shining, and people were walking in the streets. It looked like a normal day, but for Isabel, it was a day full of questions. She thought about her future. What would happen next? Could she find a way out of this situation? She had no idea, but she knew she couldn't give up. She turned back to the table and picked up the bills again. There was a letter from her old friend, Maria. It was an invitation to a local community event. Isabel thought about not going. She didn't feel like socializing, and she didn't want to be reminded of how little she had. But then she thought of David again. He needed to see that there was hope in the world. Isabel put the bills aside and decided to go. Maybe, just maybe, something good would happen today. She didn't know what, but she had to try. It was time to leave the apartment and take a step forward. She could not stay in this place of sadness forever. As she put on her coat and left the apartment, a small thought entered her mind. Could this event change her life? She didn't know, but she was going to find out. The community event was held at a small local hall. When Isabel arrived, she felt out of place. Most people there were talking to each other, laughing, and enjoying their time. Isabel felt like an outsider. She stood by the door for a few moments, unsure of what to do. Should she stay or leave? But then, she saw someone familiar. It was Lucas, a businessman she had seen around town a few times. He was standing near the refreshment table, looking busy. Isabel hesitated for a second, but then walked over to him. She had known Lucas from years ago, but they had never really spoken. "Hello, Lucas," she said, her voice a little nervous. Lucas turned and smiled. "Isabel, it's good to see you here. How are you?" "I'm okay, just trying to figure things out," Isabel replied, feeling awkward. "And you?" "Same here," he said, looking at her with a kind expression. "Life can be tough, but we keep going, right?" Isabel nodded. "Yes, we do." They stood there for a few moments, talking about small things. But then Lucas surprised her. "I actually wanted to ask you something," he said. "I'm working on a new project, and I'm looking for someone to help me with some of the work. You have a good mind, Isabel. I think you'd be perfect for it." Isabel was taken aback. Me? But I don't have much experience with business, she said. Lucas smiled. You'd be surprised. I believe you could learn quickly. Plus, the job would give you some flexibility, which I know is important with a young son. Isabel felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, this could be the opportunity she had been waiting for. But on the other hand, she didn't know if she was ready to take on something new. She looked at him, uncertain. I don't know. It sounds like a big change, she said slowly. I understand, Lucas said. But sometimes the best opportunities come when we least expect them. Think about it. If you're interested, just let me know. Isabel stood there for a moment, her mind racing. She had doubts. Could she really do this? Could she handle it? But at the same time, a small spark of hope began to grow inside her. Maybe this was her chance to change everything. I'll think about it, she said finally. Lucas nodded. No pressure. Just think about it. And if you're interested, I'll be here. Isabel left the event later that afternoon, her mind full of thoughts. She had no idea what would happen next, but she felt a sense of possibility that she hadn't felt in a long time. Could this be the change she needed? The next few days passed slowly, with Isabel thinking about the offer from Lucas. She couldn't stop wondering if it was a real opportunity or just a nice gesture. She needed to think carefully. Her son, David, was everything to her, and she couldn't afford to make a mistake. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that staying in the same place wasn't an option anymore. She woke up early one morning, as usual, and made breakfast for David. He sat at the table, eating his cereal, while Isabel thought about the conversation with Lucas. She needed to make a decision. Could she trust him? Was this the change she had been waiting for? She felt unsure, but at the same time, there was a part of her that believed it might be her chance to make a better life for herself and her son. Later that day, she called Lucas. Hello, Lucas. It's Isabel. I've been thinking about your offer. Isabel, I'm glad to hear from you, Lucas said. So what do you think? I want to give it a try, Isabel replied. I'm ready to take the risk. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, and then Lucas spoke again. That's great. I knew you could do it. I'll send you all the details about the project, and we'll start as soon as you're ready. Isabel felt a wave of excitement and fear wash over her. This was it. She was about to step into something new, something unknown. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but maybe that was the point. If she wanted things to change, she had to take the first step. The next few days were busy. Isabel spent her evenings reading about the project Lucas was working on, trying to learn as much as possible. It wasn't easy. She struggled with some of the terms and ideas, but she was determined. She could do this, she told herself. She had to believe in herself. On her first day at the project, Isabel arrived early. She felt nervous, but she tried not to show it. When she walked into the office, Lucas greeted her with a smile. Welcome, Isabel, he said. I'm excited to have you on board. Isabel smiled back, but inside she was nervous. She wasn't sure what to expect, and the work seemed more complicated than she had imagined. But she kept her focus. She asked questions when she needed to, and slowly she began to understand more. The work wasn't easy, but it was interesting, and she felt proud of herself for learning. As the days passed, Isabel started to feel more comfortable with the job. She learned new things every day, and the work became less overwhelming. She still had moments of doubt, but she kept reminding herself why she was doing this. She wanted to create a better life for David. She wanted to show him that with hard work, anything was possible. One evening, after a long day of work, Isabel called David into the living room. He ran over to her, and she smiled as he climbed onto the couch beside her. "Mom, what's wrong?" David asked, sensing that something was different. Isabel looked at him and took a deep breath. "Nothing's wrong, David," she said softly. "I'm just working really hard, but we're going to be okay. I promise." David smiled and hugged her tightly. "I love you, Mom." Isabel hugged him back, feeling a warmth in her heart. No matter how difficult things became, she would keep going for him. She knew that with every step forward, they were getting closer to the life they both deserved. Weeks went by, and Isabel found herself working harder than ever. The project was growing, and she was learning more with each passing day. There were times when she felt completely overwhelmed, but Lucas was always there to guide her. He trusted her, and that made her believe in herself a little more each day. One afternoon, she sat at her desk, reviewing some of the numbers for the project. There was a big decision that needed to be made, and Isabel was unsure. If they chose one path, it could lead to huge success. But if they made the wrong choice, it could be a disaster. She stared at the papers, her mind racing. What should they do? Just then, Lucas walked into the room. "How's everything going?" he asked, noticing the worried look on her face. "I'm not sure," Isabel admitted. "This decision, it's big. What if we choose wrong?" Lucas sat down next to her and looked at the papers. "It's a risk," he said. "But remember, we've worked hard for this. We can't let fear stop us. We've come this far because we believed in what we were doing." Isabel nodded slowly. "You're right. We have come a long way." She took a deep breath and made the decision. They would take the risk. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that this was their best chance to succeed. It was time to trust her instincts and move forward. The following weeks were filled with challenges. The project faced unexpected obstacles, and there were moments when Isabel thought about giving up. But every time she felt discouraged, she remembered why she had started. She remembered her son, David, and how she wanted to give him a better life. Finally, the moment came. The project, against all odds, was a success. The decision they had made paid off, and the business was thriving. Isabel couldn't believe it. She had done it. They had done it. Lucas called her into his office to celebrate the success. "Isabel, you were amazing," he said, his voice full of pride. I knew you could do this. Isabel smiled, feeling a wave of happiness and relief. We did it, Lucas. We really did it. Yes, we did. And it's just the beginning. There's so much more we can do. As Isabel left the office that day, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. For the first time in a long while, she felt proud of herself. She had taken a chance, worked hard, and now her life was changing. She knew there were still challenges ahead, but she was ready. For the first time in a long time, Isabel believed that her future was bright. She called David as soon as she left the office. "David, guess what?" she said, her voice full of excitement. "We did it! We're going to be okay. Things are changing for us." David's voice came through the phone, full of joy. "That's amazing, Mom. I'm so proud of you." Isabel smiled, her heart full. She had done it. She had made a better life for them. And this was only the beginning. Isabel sat in her small living room that evening, looking at the letter from the bank. It was official now. The hard work, the risks, and the sacrifices had paid off. She was finally able to pay off all her debts, and even set aside money for her future. The weight on her shoulders had been lifted, and a new chapter was beginning. She thought about how far she had come. From the small apartment, the constant worry about money, and the uncertainty about her future, to now. Isabel had taken a chance, worked hard, and transformed her life. And she wasn't alone in this. Her son, David, had been her motivation every step of the way. They were no longer just surviving. They were thriving. As she sat there, her phone rang. It was Lucas. "Hey, Isabel," he said. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. How are things going?" Isabel smiled as she looked at David, who was playing with his toys in the next room. "Things are going great," she said, her voice filled with happiness. "We did it, Lucas. We made it. I'm so proud of you," Lucas said. "You worked so hard for this. You deserve every bit of success that's coming your way." Isabel felt a sense of gratitude for all the people who had helped her along the way, especially Lucas. He had believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. She had learned so much, not just about business, but about her own strength. As she ended the call, Isabel turned to David. "We're going to be okay, David," she said softly. "We're going to have a good life now." David looked up from his toys and ran over to her, his eyes shining. "I knew you could do it, Mom." Isabel hugged him tightly, feeling the love and joy between them. She had fought hard for this moment, and now she could enjoy the peace and happiness that came with it. But she also knew that success wasn't just about money. It was about love, determination, and the strength to never give up. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. It was a beautiful evening, and for the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. She had found the success she was searching for, but she had also found something even more important, the belief in herself. Now, Isabel knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she had the strength to face them. She had come so far, and she was ready for whatever came next. And she knew that, With her son by her side, they would continue to build a bright future together. Activity challenge. Isabel's journey wasn't easy, but she made it. What about you? Do you have a dream or a goal that seems hard to reach? Think about one thing you can do today to move closer to that goal. Maybe it's learning something new, asking for help, or just believing in yourself a little more. Whatever it is, take that first step, just like Isabel did. And remember, with hard work and determination, anything is possible. Your challenge. Write in the comments one thing you're working toward and how you plan to take the first step. Share your goals with others and encourage each other. Together, we can all move forward.